So hello everyone, welcome to this another video of Scale Up India. I'm Abhishek Verma and you are watching the Hibernate series. So till now in this series you have already seen two different ways of generating the primary key using Hibernate strategies. And not basically the Hibernate strategies because they were directly coming from the JP itself. So with Hibernate we were just implementing the things. Now in today's video we are going to see one more interesting strategy. Now in that strategy it is not going to be anything like sequence number 1 2 3 4 or something like that, or not even it is going to be ABCD. It is going to be something completely random, but what it is going to ensure is that always it is going to generate a new primary key, and there won't be any chances that two primary keys can be same if we will use that particular strategy. So without wasting any time, let's see what is that strategy and how to implement the same. So let's get started. So here we are in our IDE and this is demo 5 and rest of the things are already same from our previous demo, and we'll directly head towards our entity, because as I mentioned you that whenever we are going to change these strategies, so basically we just need to make a change in this entity class only. So now as I mentioned you that today whatever we are going to do, it is not going to be any sequence number like 1 2 3, or it is not even going to be something like ABCD. So in that case this int is not going to work for us. So instead of this int, what we are going to do is we will give something like UUID here, and let me just do it like Control Shift O, and from this what we will be getting is something like this, that is java.util.uuid. Now you will say what is this UUID? So why to just speak, and why not let's directly see what is this UUID. So I'll just put a control and go on this declaration. So this UUID came in Java since Java 5 onwards, and what it basically says is that it's a class that represents immutable, universally unique identifier. So this is going to provide you an ID which is going to be unique in not only your code but universally it is going to be unique. Yeah, and hence a UUID represents 128-bit value. Now since here it is saying that it is going to be universally unique, so hence the chances that two UUIDs are going to be same are almost equal to null. Now the next interesting thing is that even our database is going to support this UUID. So instead of the integer, today we will be working with this UUID here. And for this, now the next question comes up is that what should be the strategy? So let's check. So what I'll do is I'll go to this generation type, and here we will see the different ones. So you have already seen the table which we were using, then sequence, then identity, and this auto, because I told you that whenever we are using auto, so internally it will decide whether to use table or sequence. Identity we have already seen in the previous video. And here since we have given the data type as UUID, so here also we will be selecting as UUID. Now after this, the interesting point is that one option is that you can select here it to be like this UUID, and this is going to work fine for us. So this is one option. Now the another option is that since here we have already given the data type as UUID, so we don't need to provide anything here. So even if I say like this, now this time instead of selecting the table or sequence, it is going to select the strategy as UUID for me. So this is one option. Another option is that instead of mentioning UUID here, you give it as separately the strategy, and here you can mention it as string also. So that also is a well and good. But here instead of going for the string, we will be going for UUID, and this is going to be completely your choice. Like whatever your database is going to support, and most of the time directly it is going to support the UUID also. In case if you feel that it is not supporting UUID, so here you can provide a string, and on the top you can select strategy as UUID. Now let's see what are the other changes by doing this, because obviously they are going to come. So the very first one is that we were having this getter method. So here also, like instead of regenerating it, let me directly change like this UUID. So this is going to work for me. And let me see if there is any other change. So no. Now do I need this thing? So obviously not. I don't need this. So this is well and good. Now it is showing me some error here, and let's see what it is. So here also it is saying that this set ID and this is making a confusion. Now what is the confusion? The confusion is that in owner DTO, this class. So what should we do here? Now again here you will say that okay, if in our entity it is UUID, so here also we should make it as UUID. But the point is that sometimes we will be taking this ID from the user also, basically while fetching the data. And from the UI or like from our scanner, there is no option to take the UUID. So what we will do is that in this DTO, instead of making it as UUID, let's make it as string. And later on we will see how we can convert from string to UUID and UUID to string. So something like this we will be doing here, because to the user we are not saying it is going to be UUID. For user it is going to be a normal string which they can provide. So for this, let's change the data type here also as string, and here also let's make it as string, something like this. So this will do our job, string and string, and yeah, this everything looks fine. There is no other change in this one. So now there we have mentioned as string. In the owner it is UUID. So now the question is that we need to convert it. So this get ID will obviously give me UUID. So here I will say dot to string, and this is a general thing. The only issue is so let's say if we will get null here, then it may give us null pointer exception. But if we are getting null, then obviously it's another issue with our code. So the chances of having that null is very less. So while converting from entity to DTO, we have done like this. While converting from DTO to entity, we don't need to do anything, because we are generating the ID, not taking it from the user this time. So this mapper util is also ready for us. Now beside this, let's see what else we need to do here. So we'll go to our repository in this particular part. Now here also, you remember that we were fetching the things with the help of integer. But now we know that this is the owner ID is not integer, it needs to be UUID. So we need to change the things here also. So I'll just make it like this, simple. Control Shift O, and it is going to do the job. Now it is throwing you some kind of error, but no need to worry. The only reason is that we need to give this UUID in the interface also. So here also let's quickly provide the same. So this is UID, and here also this is UID, here also. Like wherever it is owner ID, you need to change the data type. If you wish, you can skip this particular part also, and then there is no issue in this, because now for next few seconds I will be just changing the data. So my repository is ready here with all the UUID. There is no other change. So like the same way it was taking your integer primary key, it is taking your UUID also as a primary key without any issue. Now the next issue comes up in your service. So here in your service also, what do we need to do is we need to provide the owner ID in that particular way only. So here also let's do the conversion. So here also let's convert it to UUID, something like this, or let's do something different here. So this service will be invoked by the controller. Now controller, or you can say our particular main class. Now our main class is not aware that owner ID is UUID. For the main class, for the DTO, we will be sending it as a string. So let's change here, and what we will do is from the UI or from the scanner, we will be taking it as a string. So in this class, let's do it this way, just to make it little bit more interesting. Otherwise, one option is you will say that okay, whenever the point you are taking it in your input util, so there only you can make a change. But this is a different way. I'm just showing you, like there is not much difference here. So this is the thing. And same way in the service interface also, let's make it a string here. So here also we have made a string. Here also we have made a string, because UUID is nothing but it's a string only. The only thing it is going to be unique in nature, and every time a unique thing is going to be generated for us. Now it says there is an issue here because here it is providing this string, sorry, integer. So let's make it as string this time. So here we have made it a string. Now they say in this method, so let's go to this method and see. So here also let's make it a string, something like this, and here also let's make it a string like this, and this will do the job. So from the scanner I'm taking a string, then this string I'm passing with the help of this demo here, then it will go to my service in all these particular places. But the point is, from here to my database or to my repository I need to pass the UUID. So how to do? So we have already seen how to convert from UUID to string. That particular part was simple, and if you just missed, like, it was that simple. I just said dot to string and it did my job. But now I need to do a reverse. So this owner ID is a string. I need to convert it to a UUID. So let's see how to do the thing. So for this I'll just say UUID dot from string, something like this will do the job. So this way you can make it easily. If you wish, first you can save and then you can pass it here. Like if you want to know whether the conversion is successful or not for the debugging purpose, so then you can do all these things. So I'm just providing all these things here, and same way here also I need to do. So this is like your choice if you wish. So if you wish, you can just save it here first and then you can just reuse, but instead of doing that I'm being a little lazy here. Let me do it directly. Yeah, there is no particular hard and fast rule like this, so it is just going to change from application to application and scenario to scenario, your wish. So now after this, what? So from our side it seems that everything is done, and let's directly run the code. If any issue will come, then we will tackle the issue. Otherwise I guess everything is ready. And before that, let me just go to my database and see if it is empty or not. So if I'm doing refresh, it says it's empty, only the Pakistan is there and rest of the things are same. So let me just run like this, and here if I go, so this time the difference comes up here. So you see here in the database it is saying it is a binary and the size is 16. So automatically for the UUID it is going to provide you the data type as binary. So instead of directly providing you the data type as UUID, it is giving you as a binary, and this is again going to do the job. Again, this may differ from database to database. Like maybe in some different database directly UUID can be taken, but even if it is taking binary, there is no issue with that, and rest of the things are same. Let's see in our database how it looks like. So here if I refresh and I see something like this, let me just increase the font size of this, and I hope this is sufficient. Yeah, so here it looks. Yeah, because I remember some one person in a comment told that font size is little bit small, so I hope that now it is fine. Otherwise you can tell me, and for this I don't think so I can do anything for this particular part. So here you just need to bear and you just need to see how it can be done, or the best way is you try the things on your own also here. Yeah, and here let's see. So here it says the data type is binary. Again the size is 16, rest of the things are same. Again this part cannot be changed in terms of size, so that's a little issue. Like if there is any way, then you can tell. I'll just try that too. Yeah. Now after this, so things are ready, it is binary, and now the time is to save and then to fetch. I mean, these are the basic operations. We'll also go for update and delete today, because today there is not going to be much operations. Yeah, so let's do this here, or like a last time we can do. So let me see if I'm having some mock data here. So here if I go, so yeah, there is no mock data. So if you wish we can go with a mock data also, or if you wish we can go for the correct data also. Let's try to go for with the right data today. So here let's say 1, and here it says, so for today let's say something like again Java. Again, you can tell me someone's your name, I didn't remember the name completely, and then I'll take your name here. So let's say here Java. Here the last name is, let's call it as Oracle, something like this, Oracle. The gender is male, the city is, let's say, Pune, and state is, let's say, Maharashtra. This time something different, let's keep trying. And here let's give this particular data, and email ID is, so currently there is no validation on the email, so even if I give something as AB, it is going to work for me. Yeah, and again that's not an issue for us. So for pet, let's go for as one only, and this name of the pet, let's say something like Polo, something like this. Date of birth, let's say 11/11, and this is 2020. Now why I always most of the time take this example, because it is easier to type and write. Yeah, and even I don't need to think much. And what it is, so let's make it a fish. So here it says that it has saved successfully. Let's go there and see how it looks like. So again what I'll do is I'll just select it here. So you can see everything has been saved. So state is Maharashtra, type is fish, name, ID, gender, date of birth, mobile number, last name, gender, first name, email ID, city, and this ID. So everything looks fine here, but the only problem which you will say me, that what is this blob? Like here it is saving it like this. So what's the way to check this? So if I say open value in editor, then it will show me something like this. So what I just did was I clicked here and I said open value in editor. Now it is showing me like this. But instead of viewing it like this, what I basically want is I want to directly see the value here itself, the actual UUID value which got generated for me. So for that, the option is that instead of doing like this, what we can do is we will say here, like currently it is binary. So that's the reason it is unable to show you directly. So we need to convert it from binary to UUID. So what we will do is here we will say bin underscore to underscore UUID. So it's a MySQL function here. Again, every database is going to have a different function. So maybe you are working with some different database and maybe it can show you UID directly. So that also will work fine, but here it is not showing me directly. So hence I'm doing it here. So what I'm doing is that show me this bin to UUID. So bin stands for binary, then I say 2, then it is UID. And what value to convert? This ID. Now here it is not saying this star, so instead of it, let's start taking only some of the values. So let's say this first name, and it should be like first underscore name, and then let's try to take this last underscore name. And for this I have a solution, and the solution is I can go here and then I can go to this SRC main resources, I can go to this database.sql, I can say open with text editor, and here you see that I have already provided you this query. So this query you can just select here and you can directly go and you can execute this query. Something like this will do the job. And now if you say this, so it is showing you the data, and this is again the same data which it was showing you earlier after right clicking and doing that option value in editor. So now it is showing you directly. So you see it is showing something like this, a bigger value, and this is again as per the UUID only, and this is always going to be unique. So there is no way that two UUIDs are going to be same here. Now let's generate one more UUID here. So for this again I'll say y, and again let's add some data. So this time first name, let's call it as first, let's call it as last, and then let's call it M, let's call it city, let's call it state, let's call it, I mean currently I can even give it like this and it is going to work. Yeah. There is no validation. So these validations we are going to add later on in our demos, because if you might be thinking that okay, why you are not adding anything like validation, so it is there in our series. So again this has been added here. Let's go and see. So now again you see one more ID got generated. So now these are the two different IDs. So this one and this one. Now let's do our next part. So after this, the next part is that already we have saved, and you see that every time it is generating a new thing. Now there is no way that you can manipulate this. So if you say, what if I delete one of the rows, then I restart the things, whatever we did with the previous auto strategy, then also there is not going to be an issue, because on the runtime it is going to generate a UUID for you. And as they mentioned, it is going to be always unique, because it is going to take help of some timestamps and other things. So hence it is going to be always unique until unless you copy this and you paste here. So till the point you are not going to do that, it is always going to be unique. And even if you do and then try to save, I guess MySQL won't allow you to save in that particular case. So that's interesting. Now the again interesting part is that how we will perform other operations like fetching the owner details, updating the pet details, and deletion. For this already the code is working, but the problem is how to pass the ID, because here if I say 2, it will ask me to enter the owner ID. Now in the reality, who is going to remember this particular ID? The answer is that no one is going to remember this ID. Yeah. And hence the thing is that in your real world, so this is not the only thing you are going to use. So this is basically used for your primary key, and beside this also there will be other parameters, and basically there is going to be some natural keys also. Now what is natural key, that we are going to see in, I guess after this there will be one more video, and then next to next video. So in that we will be discussing about natural key. Another thing is that always you are not going to fetch by ID only. You may want to fetch by mobile number, you may want to fetch by gender, you may want to fetch by first name, you may want to fetch by email ID. So for this we are going to create some SQL queries also. Again, for that is going to be there in a series, but almost after 4 or 5 videos, because in between we will be doing inheritance options also. But till then the only option is that you need to copy this value here. So let me just copy this thing. So I guess it is copied, and let me take it here and paste it. So yeah, I have pasted it here, and let's run this. So when I do, it automatically works. So you will see it is taking it as a string. Then we already have a code UUID from string, and then it is going to work fine for us. So it is giving this user only Java, Oracle, gender, and all other things. We can compare it here. So again, please note this carefully. I'm not saying that we are going to learn this ID or use this ID in the real world directly like we did here, because no one is going to remember, and neither no one is going to enter the things here. Yeah, I mean this is going to be very big in nature. But instead of it, there are different ways. So one option is you can make the SQL query. Then instead of this ID, you may want to fetch by email ID or mobile number. Or there is an option of natural ID also. So maybe you wish to use that. But here, what this ID basically is providing us is that in the database, always there is going to be a unique row. So that guarantee it is providing to us as of now. And that's a bigger guarantee which we are looking here. Now the question is, do we use this in the real world application? So the answer is yes. We do use this thing in the real world applications, and that's the only reason I'm showing you here. If you will say that okay, there is no real world application which is using a UUID as a primary key, then obviously I would not have shown you it here. I mean, why to make a new video unnecessary, and why to do some hard job also? So it is there, but directly it won't be used like this. Something here basically. Yeah, and yeah, if still you want to use, then there are options. So let's say that in the real world, obviously you are not going to take only from the scanner. You will be making a full-fledged web application. Then for that web application there will be some Angular UI or maybe a React UI only. Yeah, then there you must be sending a list of users somehow. With that list of user, this ID will go, and then someone may click on that particular one, so we can get this ID. So point is, user is never going to enter such kind of ID. I mean, we should not ask the user to enter. For that there are different options, but here the primary role was to show you that okay, this is also one of the ways. And in the industry, most of the times these two ways are used. Either we go for this UUID as the primary key, or the other one is identity, which we have already seen in the previous video. And I told you that no one is going to manipulate it manually in the production. So these are most of the two common ways here. Yeah, and in the next video we are going to see one more interesting way, but that is not going to be auto generated. That is going to be something different, for which you need to wait for the next video. And instead of just waiting endlessly, what you can do is you can just subscribe to this channel, and then you can also press that particular bell icon also, so that you can automatically get the notification, and that will do my job. So I hope you enjoyed this video, you like the things. Now if yes, then the things which you need to do is you need to comment below, you need to ask your queries, then you need to download the demo also, and you need to try the things on your own, and then you need to tell me whether it worked for you or not. And depending on the database, it may happen, it may not work, but for that the chances are like 0.00001. So it is always going to work for you. So yeah, that's it with this one. Let's see you in the next video. Thanks.